The Hilton sale is on. Now through September 29th, you can save up to 20% on stays this fall and beyond. Long weekends, last-minute getaways, holiday gatherings. There's a Hilton stay for all of them. More moments, more experiences, more destinations. Now 20% off for a limited time because it matters where you stay. Don't wait. Book by September 29th and save up to 20% at Hilton.com. Terms apply. Hilton for the stay.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan. $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
War Eagle, and welcome to another edition of Ever to Podcast. This is the audio show where we catch you up on the latest Auburn news, topics, discussions, chatter that's happening out on social media when you're just around the water cooler being part of the Auburn family. We want to catch you up on that here, all part of the Auburn experience, which is about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. Say it with me. If it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to be doing on this particular episode 67 of Ever to Podcast. Today's date is September 24th, 2025. And as always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis. Today, we're going to try to catch you up on some news for football as we head closer and closer to the Texas A&M game. We are going to discuss some more about basketball, I know, with Stephen Pearl taking over as head coach. His press conference was today. There's some cool stats and figures out there we're going to try to get to, and of course, we'll see what else we can get into the Auburn space, but a lot of our discussions are going to center around those particular things today. So let's jump into that right now. Here, this is a quick note right off of the top before we get into the nitty-gritty of some of the press conference and stuff that for basketball, I want to touch on this. We did get an announcement post the press conference today for Stephen Pearl that the Auburn and NC State game has officially been given a time. It's going to be 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 Eastern. Sorry for everybody on the Eastern Coast like me. You're going to be able to watch that at 8 p.m. Central Time, attended at 8 p.m. In Auburn for the ACC SEC Challenge, Auburn versus NC State. This is going to be a big-time matchup. Neville's going to show out in a big way on the national stage. This will be at a game at ESPN at 9, so this isn't even ESPN2 or something like that. Auburn on the prime time in that particular hour, and it'll be fun to watch NC State coming in, which is a program with a lot of tradition, especially being in the ACC. So that should be a fun matchup in first-year head coach Stephen Pearl's tenure as Auburn men's basketball head coach. Speaking of, let's talk about it. The big press conference today. First of all, I want to acknowledge this. I'm not the most tenured person working in the media space, but during this time I have covered and talked about and watched, viewed, whatever you want to say, a bunch of different press conferences and actually several introduction press conferences for new head coaches over the last few years that I've been doing this. And this is the longest one that I can remember. I just checked the time on it, just under an hour. And a lot of that was spent, obviously, with Stephen answering questions, but there was a long discussion for him of prepared remarks that I thought he did an outstanding job with, laying out his gratitude, his thankfulness for the opportunity, what he finds special about Auburn, why he feels comfortable taking over this role from his dad and the legend, Bruce Pearl, for Auburn men's basketball. I loved how much he went in depth about the staff. He talked about every single one that most fans are aware of, talked about different promotions such as Ira Bowman being elevated to associate head coach, which these days is the highest level that you can ascend to before you become a head coach, other than being named an official coach in waiting. So that's a great thing for him. I mean, he went through every single staff member he could. He talked about the media team. He talked about his graduate assistants. I really got to say that was so impressive, and I think it demonstrated what he has done to prepare for this role, his awareness of what he is, who he's taking on as a boss in a sense. So all this chatter from fan bases and trolls and some media entities out there that are questioning this move about nepotism and stuff, I don't think he could have done a better job in this press conference, just simply from that fact alone of acknowledging the reason that he's in this position was about the staff. So I think that's a big point that Auburn folks need to take away from. There were some questions and things answered in this that I think Auburn fans are going to be probably encouraged by. One of the reasons that this move was made, other than Bruce deciding that he couldn't give it his all, and Stephen now being taken over, was to keep this staff that Bruce has put in place together. And that seems to be the case right now. And he acknowledged all of those different people. Now, they can change their minds and go different places if they get an opportunity. I'm sure there are calls happening right now. But the idea was to keep the staff together under the leadership of Stephen Pearl, because Bruce has been giving a lot of these roles, as even Stephen talked about, to people over time to prepare them for this moment. Should they be the one that take over for Auburn or go somewhere else and do that? So you should feel very secure that this was what this is about. Succession and continuity matters. John Shire of Duke is a great example of that. He's been very complimentary of this move for Auburn as well, and has been congratulatory towards Stephen. He got a call from him. That's a great thing. Kelvin Sampson speaking out about this says a lot about it too. So you should feel good about this. Another thing you should feel good about from the press conference is that as of today and as of this moment, as of the press conference, everybody is accounted for. Yes, the transfer portal window is open. They can leave. And he talked about that and said, we are going to support them if they choose to explore those options. However, we are expressing our desire to keep this group together. And as of this moment, that has happened. That could change. Anything can change. But so far, we're off to a great start in this succession of Bruce to Stephen, and it looks to be heading in the right direction, no matter what happens from this point forward. So there are 1,000 other things. We're going to be uploading the video from the athletic department as soon as we can for you, so check it out on our YouTube channel. I would highly recommend that you go and watch or listen to the whole thing. It is an outstanding job done by Stephen, done by everybody. Just great job. I'm fired up after it. So it's definitely worth your hour watch or listen if you can take the time to do so. If I can think of anything else that we need to talk about in the basketball space, I'll come back to it. I'm still just trying to digest it all here, but let's talk about some football stuff. Auburn, Texas A&M week, putting Oklahoma to bed and to rest for the most part. Obviously, we've already talked a little bit about the press conference yesterday with Coach Hugh Freeze. We heard from some players. We've got interviews up for you on YouTube from the athletic department from Jackson Arnold. That's probably one you definitely want to hear from this week. We heard from Rashawn Pleasant and Alex McPherson. One of the things that I found continually very valuable is to hear Alex's story, because there's been just so much speculation about what's been going on and not being able to fine-tooth pinpoint exactly what he's been going on. With his story on ESPN this last weekend with him in this interview, he opens up a little bit more about really he's just had a struggle of keeping food down. And they talked a little bit about their plan to get him further and further in his distance that he's comfortable with. And you can tell from his discussions that how drastic this was. They had to start like at the 20-yard line, I think is what he said, and start working their way back. So he's still got a ways to go, but it looks like the plan is in place to do that. Jackson Arnold also talked about recognizing the challenge that comes from another game on the road. Texas A&M has their own bit of challenges in their wide receivers that present that, and he recognizes that. I like the way he handled some of the questions, talking about, would he have preferred the run game be a little bit more, potent to help out the pass game? And he said, well, I missed some of these things too, so I didn't help them out in that way. So I thought it was a great job of interviews this week that I think you should go check out and get some more perspectives on. We're going to hear from Hugh Freeze today in the SEC teleconference, so we'll update tomorrow if there's anything pertinent from that to discuss. I'm sure there will be. Thinking about anything other football related, there were some cool stats that were shared out from this past week. And obviously with 4 games under your belt, you're starting to get a fuller picture of what this team's makeup and DNA looks like, and look at some of the accomplishments that they have produced. Here's a graphic that they put out yesterday. 233 rushing yards have been allowed through 4 games by Auburn's defense. That is the fewest rushing yards allowed through 4 games since 1994, which was 231, just too shy of even breaking that. So you recognize 2 of those games where it gets opponents where you think that would be highly possible to do that, but then let's talk about the full context. Baylor was supposed to have a little bit more of a rushing attack than they did in our game and weren't able to do so. Same thing could be said for Oklahoma as well. That's at least Power 5 opponents that you would think could push people around and move the ball, and they haven't been able to do that. So credit to that Auburn defensive front, which had a lot of questions. That's a cool stat to see. You've also got Something personally for an individual, Eric Singleton, he's now at 28 straight games with a reception, dating back to his other school he was at as well, including his career high 9 in the last game with Oklahoma, continuing to build his pedigree. So you wonder, can he break that career high again? We're starting to see this dynamic, I think, and I think this stat and graphic that they put out supports this. It feels a lot like that Ryan Davis connection that Jarrett Stidham had, while Cam's still being kind of that just big threat out there for everybody to keep their eyes on. Eric's that guy that's just going to be reliable and be there getting the receptions, and if you don't let him get a burst of speed, because he's going to be gone if you do that. That's a really cool stat to look at and see. Now, also, I want to talk about other elements, not just the sports. We always like to give you a dose of that in this. This is a really cool thing when you're trying to support and defend Auburn against people who are just being ignorant. Here's another publication talking about how great Auburn is as a university. In the U.S. News and World Reports for Best Colleges, this was over the last couple of days that they released this. Auburn ranks 48th in the most innovative schools, 49th out of all public institutions or universities, and number 102 out of all national universities right now. So we're just outside the top 100 in the national universities, but the public institutes top 50 as well. So that's a really good thing. There's a cool article that shows you the different aspects, such as first year experiences, where they for students where they're in public institutions, they rank number 7 overall. That's a really cool thing to see, and I think based off what we hear a lot from people who share their stories when we talk to them, that matches up with a lot of freshmen or first year experiences coming to Auburn, how much they love the experience. You can see things for accounting, for engineering, for nursing, all these things where Auburn ranks highly on that list that I'd highly encourage you to go check out to continue to build your pride and support for your university. All right, there's plenty of other stuff that we could discuss. We'll probably save some of that for another time, but we're still just catching up with the wave of things that have happened this week already. Didn't expect a lot of basketball talk this week, but here we are. Thank you for tuning in. Want to remind you, it is a Wednesday when we recorded this and putting this out, so it is Auburn Family Night. We'd love for you to join us on that tonight. It's a live call-in show. Please take advantage of that when you can. It's your space to take over the experience, the Auburn experience, here with us, 9 Eastern time on YouTube. As always, check us out anywhere you can on social media. Our direct messages are pretty much open everywhere. Email e2cnetwork@gmail.com. Thank you for being here for this particular episode of Ever to Podcast. And as we leave you, the Auburn Creed asks you to, I keep messing this up, and I promise I'm going to get this right eventually. It asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. War Eagle.